Is Josh Allen overrated? Interesting question. Certainly a lot of people that are Josh Allen fans are going to immediately say no. But first, we have to remember, what does overrated mean? Overrated does not mean bad. Overrated means that you're not as good as people believe you to be. So first, we have to figure out, what do people believe him to be? So what I decided to do was I just looked up random list. I searched top 5 quarterbacks right now and found 5 articles and just created kind of a point system where you get 5 points for a first place vote, 4 points for a second place vote, and so on and so forth. If you don't make the top 5, you don't get any points. Just wanted to see, what does just give us a bite-sized sample of what the general public believes to be the case. So this is the list. These are the 8 players that got at least 1 vote. A couple of them just won. Mahomes got either a first or second place vote across the board. So he ends up in first here. Aaron Rodgers a little bit behind him, and Josh Allen right there, only 3 points behind Rodgers and ahead of Brady, who was left off of a couple lists, only got 9 total points, which was surprising to me. I feel like I would have expected him to be a little higher. Herbert was 5th with 5 points. Joe Burrow, I don't know why I wrote his full name and only his full name, but I don't know. I guess Joe was easy to write, didn't take up too much space. Joe Burrow, 4 points, and then Stafford and Wilson. Stafford got a 1 third place vote, which was surprising, and then Wilson got a 4th place vote. So obviously, what we're talking about is Josh Allen. According to this, Josh Allen is the 3rd best quarterback in football. At least that's what the general public believes, and he's very close to what Aaron Rodgers is at, which to me surprised me, quite frankly. I don't think that he should be quite that level. I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. I still think that you should, if you're the Bills, just pay him whatever he wants. If he says he wants a raise, you just give him a raise. Don't even question him. Whatever money he wants. He's that caliber of player. But is he better than Brady, and is he on the same level as Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. Well, first, let's look at some numbers to talk about it. You see that his, PFF grade last year, he was actually the 3rd best graded player last season, although not from passing. His passing was 9th best in his PFF grade, but his running was best among quarterbacks. So best running quarterback, along with being the 9th best passing quarterback, made him PFF's 3rd highest graded player. So there you go. He was 3rd best quarterback last year, according to PFF, and he is 3rd on this list. With some other stats, and maybe kind of can help us understand this a little bit more, his big-time throw percentage was 7th best, so good big-time throw percentage. His turnover-worthy play percentage is tied for 17th, and so he turned the ball over a decent amount. He also earned those turnovers for the most part, then that's 17th best, so first would be the best in football. The next stat is ADOT, also known as average depth of target. He was 7th, highest there, so he throws the ball down the field a decent amount, and then his passer rating, that's what PR stands for, was 10th. So, a fringe top 10 quarterback in terms of passer rating, but obviously there's better statistics than that. Now, if you watched my video where I said, how do you use stats to determine how good a quarterback is, what you typically want to do is you look at kind of the stats that you like. So for me, it's usually PFF grade and passer rating are kind of the major 2 I'll use. Also EPA per play, but those are the main 2 I like to use. But then an important couple of next steps is you want to look at turnover-worthy play percentage and see if, sometimes a guy has a bunch of turnovers but didn't earn a bunch of those turnovers. The turnover-worthy play percentage wasn't bad, and when something like that happens, it's like, okay, well, that's actually not that big of a deal. That's not really the case here, so it's not really relevant, but an important step in the process. And then the next step, and kind of the final step, is you want to look at how well they do passing the ball down the field, because that can often tell us a lot about a quarterback. And you look at this, how well he did down the field, you can find some really fascinating numbers. So the way this chart works is, so the top of the list, 20 plus, that is 20 plus yards down the field. And this is air yards. So when the ball went 20 plus yards down the field, what ended up happening? He had the 2nd highest graded PFF grade when he threw the ball 20 plus yards down the field, and the 4th highest passer rating in a 10 to 19 range. Very good. 8th best PFF grade, 6th best passer rating, and then that 0 to 9 range, he really struggled. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in football in that 0 to 9 range, according to 2 statistics that I would say are pretty good. I think that these stats tend to be solid. Behind the line of scrimmage stuff, I always kind of attribute to luck. His is middle of the pack, so it's kind of irrelevant here. But sometimes you'll see someone who had a lot of success in that range. It typically does not translate year in to year out, but again, not really relevant in this video. So what do we make of this? Does this tell us that Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in football, or he isn't? Well, his PFF grade was third best in football, and he's still young, so he could get better. None of his other numbers really justify being considered the third best quarterback in football, but, at the same time, that's one number that I really like, and if that says that he is the third best, that is fascinating for me. But one thing you have to do is you can't just look at numbers, right? You have to watch the film. You have to put this all together, or, watch someone like me put the film together and watch all of that and take my word for it. So that's what we're going to do is I went back and I watched a bunch of Josh Allen film and said, hey, is this the case? Does he struggle in that 0 to 9 range? And does he really succeed in that, getting the ball down the field? Does he turn the ball over too much? All of that stuff. And I felt like the numbers really kind of did back up the film. I thought that they worked together, which tends to be the case. So, for example, something like this, what we're going to see is that I'm going to pause it for a second just to set things up. But, one thing I've talked about with Josh Allen is that, listen, when he's having his best day might be better than anyone else's best day. I think that's kind of why when people rank him first overall, which some people did, why he gets that ranking, because he can be so great when he's on. But you can't just look at quarterbacks at their best. You have to take the overall body of work. And some people brought up stats saying, well, he's actually not as inconsistent as others will make him out to be. And that's probably true, but there still are some inconsistencies on, film, not even game to game, but play to play. Although I have to say, it's not all his fault as well. And this play is going to be a good example of kind of saying this isn't all his fault when some of the inconsistencies happen. Sometimes it's simply inconsistencies of his team, like what happened a lot in that Jacksonville game, where watch what happens. Right when this play begins, look at the 5 eligible receivers and how none of them are going to be open right here. This happened more than you would like to think, because they do have talent in that receiving core, but there were games where they really struggled to get open, and at that point, no quarterback is going to look good in that situation. This is definitely something I saw on film. So look, as you see, Josh Allen, just throws the ball away, so okay, that hurts his, doesn't hurt his PFF grade, but hurts his passer rating, which is why maybe you see a disparity in the PFF grade versus the passer rating, and potentially why, it might look like he's worse when he actually isn't. It might look like he's more inconsistent when he actually isn't. That being said, there still are issues on film with him. Like, this one's going to be another kind of similar example of, okay, it's not going to be his fault that this play goes wrong. Watch, right when this play begins, you see that Josh Allen looks around, nothing is open, he's going to scramble outside the pocket, he's going to break a couple tackles. This is starting off like a quintessential highlight reel Josh Allen play. But remember, the highlight reels only show the plays when they work out. And, the good definitely outweighed the bad with Josh Allen, but there was some bad, similar to like Patrick Mahomes. He'll sometimes, these crazy behind the back blindfolded passes end up in interceptions. Sometimes they end up in touchdowns. People notice the touchdowns. Josh Allen kind of has a bit of a similar vibe, potentially. Watch Josh Allen. I just don't know what he was really thinking there. Basically just said, I want this one to be intercepted. Can you please intercept that for me? I mean, that was not a decision he should have made. He should have just ran out of bounds or threw the ball out of bounds instead of doing that. Just not a great decision by Allen. And, it was a third down. I get it. You're trying to make something happen, but, it's just not a smart decision at that point. It's not the end of the world. Of course, Josh Allen is still awesome. Nobody is arguing the contrary. And that's definitely something that you can improve on and get better at, but he has to improve on it. He has to get better at it. And one last thing, I wanted to look at sort of some of those, underneath 10 yards type of plays, so the 0 to 9 range down the field, see if there were some issues. And I actually did notice some issues. He kind of has a bit of a, not as extreme as like a Zach Wilson, but you know how Zach Wilson will make these incredible throws, but then he can't hit a screen pass for the life of him? Allen isn't that bad when it comes to like the accuracy down the field, but he'll miss some throws, shallower down the field. Watch what happens. Look, as you see, Josh Allen is going to scramble out a little bit and just, underthrows this one right there, is not able to get it to be complete. So, it honestly still had a chance to potentially be caught, but definitely was underthrown on top of that. Something that you would, I've noticed when I went back and watched the film and focused on it, like, oh yeah, this does happen. So is he overrated? I think it's debatable. I really do. I think that you can certainly make the argument, no, he's not overrated. If you're someone who just simply wants a quarterback to be able to go out there and win you football games, that's what he can do. I mean, New England saw it firsthand twice, where they had the perfect game plan. They knew exactly what they had to do, and Josh Allen just said, I don't care, I'm on right now. And, the past 2 times the Bills played the Patriots, they won. I really thought that the second regular season game with Bills-Patriots was a perfect example of, like, Josh Allen just saying, like, no, we're winning this game. And when he's playing that way, he wins. Like, that's typically how it works. So if that's simply what you value, I think it's totally reasonable to say he's the best quarterback in football. If all you care about is talent as well, which I've always hated the who's more talented, who's, better. All I care about is how valuable you are to your football team. What does it matter if you're more talented? But for people that do simply say, all I care about is talent, you can make the argument he's number one on that list. So, I would probably make that argument as well, just in terms of like physical tools, and he's, not a dumb guy either. So there's some holes in his game. And I think if you want to be a stickler, and you have to nitpick when it comes to these guys at the top because they all are so good. If you want to nitpick and say, struggles at these underneath stuff a little bit, will put the ball in harm's way too frequently, I think that's reasonable. And I think those are fair criticisms that I think it's fair to say, I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Josh Allen for one season. I'd rather have current Tom Brady than current Josh Allen for one season. There's a couple guys that I think people tend to rank behind Josh Allen that I'd probably put ahead of Josh Allen. That being said, he's still young and getting better. So, if I'm saying who do you want to start a franchise with, Josh Allen's probably second on that list, right behind Mahomes. He's at least up there. He's very much up there. So that's kind of the intrigue with it. And again, people evaluate this stuff different. They might say it's a best list right now, but actually still take into account how young someone is. So I don't know, but that's kind of my logic and reasoning on why I might be a tad lower on Josh Allen than everyone else is, or at least than the general public is, even though I do like him. I think that, Aaron Rodgers is better than Josh Allen right now. That's basically my main thing. But what do you guys think? And I think Tom Brady is better than Josh Allen right now as well. In fairness, the general public also said Aaron Rodgers was better than Josh Allen. But I feel it's a little closer than I would have had it. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Actually, one last thing I wanted to just make sure I get in this video. The reason why I didn't show any of the good Josh Allen plays is because we know Josh Allen's good. Like, we've seen what Josh Allen can do. That's amazing. Like, I didn't even think I needed to I was like, should I put some good plays in? No, we all know what he can do. We all know his ability to scramble out and break tackles and use his legs, or just use his big arm and make stuff happen. We all know what he does well. We all know that, I'm sure someone in the comments won't get what I'm saying I'm doing here, but I think most of you will understand. Like, no, we're nitpicking the greats right now is what we're doing. So, but yeah, just want to throw that in there. Anyways, goodbye.